welcome to Consultant's Corner. I'm Rebecca Brizi. This is my corner. I am a consultant. Have you ever noticed what an awful word deadline is? I was at lunch with a few other people a few weeks ago, and somebody there mentioned, isn't deadline a terrible word? And it is a rather unpleasant word, isn't it? Deadline. And that starting point allowed me to go on to my rant about deadlines being so unhelpful anyway. Yes, we all agree that things have to happen within a certain date for whatever reason, because of all the dependencies, things that have to come afterwards, and so on. It is not the fact of having a deliverable date that bothers me. It is the way in which we use deadlines. And yes, let's never use that word again. Due dates, shall we say? It is the way in which we're using due dates in projects. Why? How are we using due dates in projects? At its most basic, we have a start date and we have an end date to our project. I mean, some form of boundary, I suppose, but really completely unhelpful in terms of the execution and completion of that project, in getting it done and how it's done and so on. All right, well, how about intermediary delivery points? Due dates spread out before that final due date. That's a little bit better. It at least gives you stages of work in the project, but it still is retroactive looking. You're setting a date and saying, by this date, we have to have these things done. And on that date, you examine whether you have those things done. And if you haven't, you've failed, you're behind, it's a problem, now you're in a rush. Also, not particularly helpful. Or at most, helpful in looking at what happened before, but a lot less helpful in planning ahead, other than, uh-oh, we've got more to do now. What if we replace all of this with check-in points? What if instead of saying, by this day you have to have this done, we say, here is the time frame for the whole project. We are going to have check-in points every week throughout that time frame. What kind of progress you expect to be making week on week. And then when those check-in points happen, when you're having those weekly meetings, you're all coming together to say, this is what we've got done so far. This is what we plan to do next. Is that going to work in the grand scheme of the project? And if not, let's readjust what we need to do next. So it's not so much about success or failure in meeting that due date. And it's not even this concentration on looking at what did you do so far and did you achieve what you set out to achieve. It's much more about where are we, what are we doing, and what do we do next. This is a more forward-looking approach, which is more productive, offers less negative pressure, and overall will be more effective in getting the thing done. So let's stop using the word deadline, but let's also stop using the concept of due dates, and let's start using check-in points until the final deliverable. Let's see how that goes for a bit. What are some major projects that you have going on at work right now? Now, these might be one-off projects, new initiatives, or one-time initiatives, or they might also be ongoing work. Perhaps every single client deliverable is a project. Perhaps every single marketing campaign is a project. Whatever you define as a project, how are you planning around that? And if you're looking at a calendar with a bunch of deadlines and due dates in it, try to replace those with check-in points. Change how you're managing those check-in points from being backwards looking to being forward looking. What check-in points can you put into your calendar between now and Wednesday of next week when you'll be back here for our next video? And I will see you then. Bye now.